Story that inspired the movie The Blind Side has an impossibly happy ending.
Former NFL player Michael Oher, the truth blindsided him when he says he learned his family was not legally his own.
Says it was all based on a lie.
Michael Oher spent his entire career protecting quarterbacks' blind sides. Sadly, nobody was there to protect his blind side. Oh my God, I should be writing for Hollywood. If they weren't on strike, I'd apply. Sandra Bullock won an Oscar for her portrayal of Leanne Toohey in the film The Blind Side.
If you hear something in the woods, you tell me.
No, that's Bird Box, where she was blindfolded the whole time. The Blind Side is about the Toohey family adopting teenager Michael Oher, a 6'5", 300-pound blossoming offensive lineman. They took him into their home and helped him get into Ole Miss, where he went on to have an 8-year NFL career with the Ravens, Titans, and Panthers, winning a Super Bowl with Baltimore. That happy story, that feel-good performance from Bullock, turns out it may all have been a lie. Well, at least according to Michael Oher, who filed a lawsuit against the family who took him in, the Tooheys. He claims they tricked him into signing a conservatorship instead of an adoption and used that power to make a lot of money off his name. Is that true? What did the Tooheys say in response? And are all feel-good stories just big lies? I swear to God, if I find out Lord of the Rings is fake, I'm gonna lose my shit. If you'd like for me to fake adopt you, please subscribe here. I did put the information for the Patreon fantasy drafts on Patreon. That's the exclusive That's Good Sports ESPN fantasy leagues. The only way to sign up is on Patreon for all 20 a month members, or on the YouTube community tab for $20 YouTube members. I do have shout outs for new patrons: Owen Bonds, Senior Buzzman, and Sir Random Guy. Look, Michael Oher has a new book coming out called When Your Back is Against the Wall. Now keep that in mind when you think about the timing of this lawsuit. Oher went on Jim Rome's show yesterday to promote it.
One theme from this book and some of the other interviews you've done is that what you see is not always the truth, and that there's a lot of narratives out there that may not be even attached to truth.
And to be safe, CBS should really tell Michael Oher that was not Jim Rome interviewing him. Now, former NFL tackle Michael Oher, known for his life story portrayed in the 2009 film The Blind Side, has taken legal action by submitting a petition to a Tennessee court. If you haven't seen The Blind Side or don't know who Michael Oher is, just kidding. We all fucking know this story, right?
Tell him to sleep with one eye open.
You threaten my son. You threaten me.
A loving, well-to-do family adopts a young kid who was kicked into foster care because he had 11 brothers and sisters and a mom who battled drug addiction. And worst of all, he never had a bed.
Never had one before.
What, a room to yourself?
A bed.
They helped him cultivate his athletic talent so he could go to college at Ole Miss and be drafted into the NFL in the first round by the Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens select Michael Oher, offensive tackle, Mississippi.
And eventually win a Super Bowl. We all know that story. In these claims, though, Oher asserts that a key aspect of the narrative, which depicted his adoption by a wealthy white family as a way out of destitution, is a fabrication concocted by the family itself to profit at his expense. That wealthy white family, of course, the Flaccos. Nobody on earth made more money off of Oher's football abilities than Joe Flacco after Oher protected his blind side in 2012. The season the Ravens won the Super Bowl and then were forced to give Flacco $120 million.
Flacco, well, was hit when he threw it. And Michael Oher, the rookie right tackle, caught it.
Oher also claims that the Harbaugh brothers switched places for 1 month and nobody noticed. Now, the comprehensive 14-page petition contends that Sean and Lee Ann Toohey, who welcomed Oher into their home during his high school years, did not formally adopt him. Instead, the petition alleges that shortly after Oher's 18th birthday in 2004, they manipulated him into signing a document that designated them as his conservators. This move granted them legal authority to negotiate business transactions on his behalf. It's saying they told Michael that adopting someone over the age of 18 was called a conservatorship. not exactly honest. Now, there are distinct legal disparities between the two. Had he been adopted, Oher would have had full legal membership within their family and retained control over his own financial matters. The father in this scenario said this: Michael was obviously living with us for a long time, and the NCAA didn't like that. They said the only way Michael could go to Ole Miss was if he was actually part of the family. I sat Michael down and told him, if you're planning to go to Ole Miss or even considering Ole Miss, we think you have to be part of the family. This would do that legally. We contacted lawyers who had told us that we couldn't adopt over the age of 18. The only thing we could do was to have a conservatorship. We were so concerned it was on the up and up that we made sure the biological mother came to court. So put simply, Oher claims that they told them the only way he could get into college is if they became his conservators, which was just a fancy name for adopted parents. Now, I have no idea who's telling the truth here, but I do know that at the age of 18, I had no idea what a conservatorship was. I didn't know what that was until I watched the It's Britney Bitch documentary. The Tuohys, specifically Sean Jr., who would be Oher's brother in this scenario, claims Oher knew he was in a conservatorship the whole time, which he did, but he apparently didn't know until February what the legal ramifications actually meant. Now, the Tuohys have persisted in referring to the now 37-year-old Oher as their adopted son, leveraging this to promote their foundation and Leanne Tuohy's endeavors as an author and motivational speaker. She now goes around the country telling other white women how to scout left tackles with raw potential but troubled family lives. She's like the Daniel Jeremiah of grifting, if you will. Now, according to the legal filing, it goes on to reveal that Oher only realized the extent of this deception and the lack of genuine familial connection with the Tuohys in February of 2023, when he uncovered that the conservatorship, which he had agreed to under the premise of becoming a part of the family, did not bestow upon him any actual familial ties. Oher should have realized this when he was given a pass for not showing up to Christmas dinner, honestly. Also hoping his parents aren't real, Aaron Rodgers. But that's a different story. Oher's petition urges the court to terminate the Tuohys' conservatorship and impose an injunction preventing them from exploiting his name and image. The legal filing also demands a thorough financial audit of the profits the Tuohys accrued through the use of Oher's identity. Additionally, it calls for the Tuohys to fairly compensate Oher for his share of earnings, as well as unspecified compensatory and punitive damages. The petition alleges that shortly after the 2006 publication of The Blind Side, Evolution of a Game, a book chronicling their story, the Tuohys initiated negotiations for a movie adaptation. This film reportedly granted them and their biological children $225,000 each, plus a percentage of the defined net proceeds. The movie achieved significant commercial success, grossing over $300 million at the box office and more through home video sales. Although the deal allowed the Tuohys to profit from the film, the petition contends that an unrelated 2007 contract, supposedly signed by Oher, seemingly granted life rights of his story to the studios without compensation. The filing also notes that Oher does not recall signing this contract, and even if he did, its implications were not explained to him. Now, here could be the biggest smoking gun in this case, in my opinion. It's not just that Oher may have signed away his rights to the film, but that the 4 members of the family, not named Oher, were repped by CAA. That's the Creative Artists Agency, which is one of the biggest and most well-known talent agencies in Hollywood. These filings claim that Michael Oher's agent was not with CAA, and that was instead a family friend named Deborah Brannon. She repped him in his deal, or lack thereof one, in the movie, and guess what else? She filed the conservatorship herself. If that's true, it's very shady. Here, Michael, here's a lawyer, a trusted family friend to help us adopt you and work on our movie deal. Just kidding, she helped us sign away your financial rights, twice, forever. Again, these are Oher's claims, and the Tuohys have stated all money generated from the Michael Lewis book and movie have been split equally 5 ways. My question, why the fuck did the other 2 biological kids get 1/5 of the money? How is that fair to Michael Oher? Thanks for being amazing at football, Michael. Now give 1/5 of your earnings to each of your brothers and sisters who suck at sports. Now that's what I actually call Moneyball.
25 people that we can afford because everyone else in baseball undervalues them. Like an island of misfit toys.
We also know that Michael Oher never liked his portrayal in the film, as he was portrayed to be unintelligent.
Shy wallflower, that you were timid and you had to be kind of like drawn out of your shell, when in reality, you were a workaholic, you were hyper organized, and you were like, damn it, I'm making something of myself no matter what it takes after a rough background. Is that the big one that you feel you were mislabeled as?
I think it took away the hard work and the dedication that I created.
That's Hollywood for you though, Michael. You know who else didn't like their portrayal in a film? Jeffrey Dahmer. If Dahmer weren't dead, you better believe he'd be suing Netflix for royalty checks.
When the movie was made, Michael Oher always suspected that somebody was making money, and and the family was making money on the film. But whenever he asked about it, he was deflected. He was told, talk to this person or talk to that person. And moreover, more to the point, he was beginning his NFL career once the movie hit. And so he was making his own money, and he, his attorney talked about how consuming, being a football player is. So he didn't really take the time to dig into it, even though this was a suspicion that he kind of harbored in the back of his mind.
It wasn't until after retiring in 2016 that he actively pursued the investigation, which unveiled the intricacies of the movie deal and his legal status with the individuals he believed were his adoptive parents. The revelation came in February, when his lawyer uncovered conservatorship documents, leading Oher to the painful realization that he had not been adopted by the Tuohys. In response, the Tuohys have stated that they are devastated, and it's upsetting to think that they would take money from any of their kids, and that they will love Michael now, just like they did when he was 16. A message they all keep repeating, which makes it sound oddly rehearsed. But really? You're gonna love him the same even though he's suing you? If any of my 10 adopted promising young athletes ever sue me, I shut the love train off. That love ends. Now, they also said they will end the conservatorship if that's what Michael wants. Well, he does. In terms of the conservatorship and the adoption and what was told to Michael Oher, we'll probably never know the truth there, but one thing that could help the Tuohys in terms of the financial ramifications of the film is if they were indeed screwed out of money. Then this may become a story about Hollywood ripping them off as an entire family, including Michael Oher. The son, Sean Jr., went on Barstool to talk about it. I suggest watching that interview. I was gonna chop it down, but it's very wordy and lengthy, but maybe you can get a better perspective of their point of view by watching that. As far as making millions, Tuohy told the Daily Memphian that he didn't need the money after selling most of his fast food franchises for more than $200 million. He quoted to them, "We didn't make any money off the movie. Well, Michael Lewis, the author of the book, The Blind Side, gave us half of his share. Everybody in the family got an equal share, including Michael. It was about $14,000 each." So is he saying that the author gave them half of his share from the book's earnings, or half of his share from the movie's earnings based on the book? Because one sounds like a loophole, and both sound like they do care about the money that was being made. But he went on to say, "We were never offered money. We never asked for money. My money is well documented. You can look up how much I sold my company for. I did, and this is what I got." He owned 115 fast food franchises, including those of Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza Hut, and Long John Silver's. They still currently own 11, having sold the majority in 6 separate transactions. That's where he gets the $200 million. Tuohy has also been a broadcaster for the Memphis Grizzlies of the NBA since 2001, which means actually he's also tried to adopt Ja Morant. But he's got a strict rule about not allowing guns in his house. So he is right, his money is well documented. What this comes down to is if it can be proved that his family made $225,000 each from the movie plus 2.5% of the net proceeds. If that's true, then he's lying. That should be really easy to prove too, right? If the Tuohys were making money on royalties from the movie, And Oher wasn't, there would be financial records of that both on their end and from Hollywood. Just as I am sure there have to be clips or written articles of them claiming to be his adopted parents when they really weren't. If they didn't make royalties off the movie, like they are claiming, then they're fucking idiots. And I have a hard time believing a man smart enough to sell his fast food franchises for $200 million was also like, oh yeah, go ahead Hollywood, use this incredible story for free, or for a few $1,000s. No man with a sophisticated palate craving that of Taco Bell, KFC, and Long John Silver's would ever be that short-sighted. The movie seemed too good to be true. And honestly, when I watched it, it felt more like a Lifetime movie to me than an Oscar winner. So unlike many, my childhood dreams have not been shattered. Even though it was based on a true story, it always felt kind of fake, or at least overly sappy.
You're changing that boy's life. No, he's changing mine.
And with too much goodwill from the family. But I swear to God, if bus drivers come out and sue 20th Century Fox because that bus Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves were on could indeed have gone below 50 miles per hour, I'm done watching movies forever.
If it drops below 50, it blows up. What do you do?
In conclusion, the most realistic football movie is still The Last Boy Scout. And speaking of family clarifications, Michael Oher, who played in Super Bowl 50, did confirm Von Miller is indeed Cam Newton's father. So thank you, Michael. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. And let me know in the comments who you believe. Are you Team Oher or Team Tui?